Thanks so much for checking out the video. Today we're going to be discussing the top 10 heroes to limit break in green. If you haven't already, make sure you check out all the other limit break videos in different colors, and I promise you'll get a lot of value out of them. In this video, we're going to be discussing every single 5-star green hero that is out, as well as discussing the most important 4 stars as well as 3 stars. So definitely make sure you watch all the way to the very end, because I promise you're going to get great value out of this. In this, we're grading all the characters from the C range all the way to A+ range. So you'll definitely have a pretty great scope on your characters on where they fit in. So starting us off in our list is going to be our C range heroes, and it's going to be regular Caitlyn, the character that just deals damage to all enemies at fast speed, and then also sets up a little bit of defense against special skills. Ultimately underwhelming. Next up on the list is going to be Elkinen, regular Elkinen, dealing damage to target nearby enemies, and then the increased healing is just, it's not that great. Next up in our C characters is going to be Guardian Chameleon, a character that can definitely be used on Mythic Titans, but other than that, not that great of a character. Next up on our list is going to be our B- range heroes. And we're going to start off with Lady Locke, a character that deals damage at average speed, over increasing times over 4 turns, starts off low, doesn't really do too much. The best part about her is that she's going to be dispelling status ailments from all allies. Next up in our B- is going to be Horgel, a character that deals damage to everybody. The biggest draw to him is being able to get the -34% attack for 6 turns. Next up on our list is going to be Zoc, a character that deals damage to a single target and then potentially sets them up to where they get mana increase and then mindless attack. It's just kind of a mess at a single target for Zoc. Next up on our list is going to be Elradir, a situation where he's dealing damage to target nearby enemies and then the potential to be reflecting back some status ailments. So swinging right along into our B characters, we have Horgel costume. Obviously the best part about this other version is that you get a whole lot more attack decrease put onto him. Next up on our list is going to be Radasuker, the little squirrely man. He definitely works great on Titans, helps out with some healing, but other than that, pretty situational. Next up on the list is going to be Balbar. Obviously you have the whole sleeping thing. It does increase the damage, but you have to target. There's just better characters that are out that are doing the increased damage. Next up on the list is going to be Luigi. I think that's pronounced Luigi. I think you guys fixed me before. I'm sure you guys will fix me. I don't know. But a character that just removes the status effects, goes into ghost form. We've never seen this ghost form characters really work, and I don't think that we're going to stop here. Next up on the list is going to be Bertilia. This character does work pretty well on the very fast wars, but other than that, doesn't really see a ton of play. Next up in our B range characters is going to be Yunnin, a situation to where he used to be great until small giant release characters that actually dispel status ailments. Ever since that happened, hasn't really been used that much. Next up on the list is going to be Yunnin costume. They tried to just give us a new version of it, and it's still not that great. He does help out a little bit with mana generation, but other than that, not that amazing of a character. Next up is going to be our B+ characters. These are above average, still pretty sweet, but nothing to really go crazy over. So first up is going to be Morgan Le Fay. She's dealing fast damage in terms of draining life, and then also sets herself up to be getting the defense increase against fire. Used to be pretty sweet back in the day. Next up is going to be Gregorion, a character that is still definitely used against Titans with a critical chance, but other than that, not that great of a character to be limit breaking. Next up is going to be Margaret. They gave her a little bit of a buff, so she is helped out. She used to be terrible. Rogue class, setting herself up to dodge, and then also giving the damage, but we just have better dodge characters that are out. Next up is going to be Lady of the Lake, another character that is absolutely used on the very fast wars, mostly because the minion reduction is really annoying to deal with. Next up is going to be Jade. The Jade, One of the most underwhelming ninjas that we have out. Again, we got the whole dodge situation that's happening here, but just not a character that is really that great, especially because it's not dealing any damage. Next up, this is such a painful one to say, but God, it's got to be true. It's going to be Teleria. Chilling in at B+, was once the best character that they ever released. They've nerfed this poor woman so much that she's completely unusable. Very rarely will you see her. She is still a decent tank, but she just doesn't do anything really on offense and is very limited to just being in the tank position. I'm very, very sad to see this character drop so far. Next up on the list in the B pluses is going to be Lady of the Lake, situation to where you get the mana generation situation, negative mana generation. So a little bit different on the other ones, but this one will make it so it's a little bit more annoying. Next up on the list is going to be the Hatter, a situation to where obviously can be really awesome on offense to steal buffs, but other than that, probably not going to be limit breaking. Last on our B plus is going to be Tarlak. Might be a little bit of a surprise, but unfortunately Tarlak is a little bit one-dimensional to where he's just used on Titans. Don't get me wrong, an absolutely amazing character, but definitely not my first choice in terms of limit breaking. So I got to tell you guys, are you guys looking for a new alliance? You got to check out Too Tough for Titans. They are top 100 alliance. They've been known to hang out in top 50. They recently hit number 3 in the entire world, and they are currently chaining 14-star Titans. If you're looking to join them, you got to head over to Line and contact Re6 Corey and get yourself added to the wait list. So thanks so much for the support. This is the shout out that I have on this video to shout out an alliance. Next up on our list is going to be our A- heroes. These are definitely characters that are pretty sweet, above average, definitely could be considering limit breaking. So we're starting this off with Liana. Just deals a ton of damage to a single target, very one-dimensional, and it really hurts when you get hit by her, especially after she's limit broken. Next up on our A- is going to be Zelene, a character I use quite frequently. I love the fact that she's dispelling all buffs from all enemies at fast speed, so I really like that about her. Also dealing damage and giving the attack decrease down. Next up on the list is going to be Atamos, just a character that got buffed, could be very sweet. You don't really see him around much, and it actually is kind of weird because I feel like he could be pretty awesome, but he's going to sit there and chill in at A-. Next up is going to be Liana Costume. This is one of the ones that was definitely fringe to potentially get pushed over into a little bit higher, but she's just kind of fallen a little bit to the waist because we've kind of gotten a lot more powerful green heroes, so dealing damage to target and then also doing the mana generation. Next up on the list is going to be Elkanin Costume. This guy is pretty sweet to where he deals damage straight to the target and nearby enemies, and then also sets up with a substantial amount of healing gain, but I do like that it is 280 to target and nearby enemies. Next up in our A- is going to be Garga Jamal. This beefy looking woman setting herself up to where she's dealing damage and then also doing a regeneration over 3 turns. Kind of sweet, but a little bit not too crazy good. Next up on the list is going to be Ioria Fluffy, and this character is actually really awesome. Obviously, if they have any minion heroes, being able to deal damage to a single target and destroying all minions, and then also setting herself up to where the minion reduction happens, this character might get a whole lot more of a bump depending on what SG ends up doing. We got a lot of minions on the horizon, so definitely a really sweet character to consider. Next up on the list is going to be Francine Costume. She sets herself up. She was dealing damage to target nearby enemies and also cleansing. And then she also has the ice enemy defensive down for nature for 3 turns. So kind of an interesting character. Next up on our list is going to be Kongalak. This is a brand new character. We're going to see where the limit is with this guy. Obviously, the situation is he's running at slow speed and he's dealing damage. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a sizable amount of damage, but we still have a situation where he's running at slow speed. I could see this potentially getting bumped up a bit in the future. Next up in our A- range, I was very close to bringing this over to A. Such a difficult situation. Evelyn, being that she deals damage to target nearby enemies, also giving the nature defensive down, and then also dispelling any buffs from target nearby enemies. I love this character. Definitely fringe playable going into the A range for the 5 stars. So now I'm going to be discussing all of the 3 stars and 4 stars that you're gonna definitely want to consider. So we're going to start off with the 3-star A heroes. First up on our list is going to be Ishtak costume, dealing damage to target minor damage to nearby enemies. But the biggest draw to be using Ishtak is the minus 44% defense for 4 turns. So I do like this character quite a bit as a 3-star. Next up is going to be Greevil, just a character you wouldn't expect is pretty awesome, but he goes off in wars and you're pretty aggravated. So the boosting health situation definitely is a thing. And then he also helps out with giving the attack increase. So I do like Greevil, a little baby Heimdall, so it definitely works out. Next up in our 3-star A's is going to be Burden costume, dealing damage to the target 325%. But the target is going to get minus 34% defense for 6 turns. So maybe a budget character you're going to be using on Titans. Here's one that you might be a little bit surprised about, but Carver definitely makes the list, being that he deals 125% damage to all enemies and reduces the mana of all enemies by 16%. So this character works really well in the fast wars, also being that he's a rogue class, one of my sleeper heroes that I love using. This one was so close to going to A+. I'm still debating it. It's going to be Shrub Bear. We know how annoying this character is against on the tournaments, being that he has the taunt, and then also setting up the 63% defense for 4 turns. Also gets the defense against special skills. He's extremely hard to kill, and definitely one of my favorite 3 stars that we have out. Next up on the list is going to be the 4-star A's. But before I do that, guys, I want to point you over. You guys have watched this content. You guys have watched all the limit break videos. I'd really appreciate it if you guys go check out Anchor.com. If you guys saw earlier in this video, I gave a shout out to an alliance. This is an opportunity for you guys to gain a whole bunch of perks. I've worked pretty hard on this to get this going, and if you want to support me, this is the best way to do it. I've seen you guys' comments of how supportive you guys have been and everything like that. This is your opportunity to gain access to so many crazy perks that I'm extending out to you guys. I've made it to where we've got a situation in place to where we can grow this content so much more. So if you guys haven't noticed, I've been backing off with a lot of the sponsored videos. So now I want to get into a situation to where rather than talk about other games, I want to stay focused on Empires and Puzzles primarily. So if you guys could do me a huge favor, check out supportanchor.com. A ton of different perks that are going on through there, and you get to sign up for different situations, gain access, get on-demand information. So check that out, supportanchor.com. So going into this, we have our 4-star A's. This is Orla, a character that's pretty new at running a slow speed, definitely just a beast on the very fast tournaments. Deals damage to the target, and then also sets it up to where target nearby enemies are getting the negative mana generation, and then we've got a stack situation recovering. I do like Orla sitting at the A 4 stars. Next up on the list is going to be Cademan costume, situation where he deals damage to the target and then dispels status ailments from all allies. And then on the flip side, we've got regular Cademan, which is going to be dealing damage to the target and then dispelling all buffs from all enemies. Definitely very important. Dispelling any sort of ailments or buffs from enemies will always be a timeless situation to where you're probably going to always need it. So having these characters is going to be pretty great for you. Another one kind of very similar to all this is going to be Melindor costume, situation where we're recovering HP over 3 turns and then also defense for 3 turns. But the most important thing is going to be dispelling buffs from all enemies, and you don't have to take damage from that dispel. This one's kind of an interesting one. Gobbler, which obviously the biggest draw to be using Gobbler is going to be for all these minion crazy defenses that we're seeing. So the ability to destroy all enemies minions, and then also dealing damage to all enemies, big thing is just going to be recovering a ton of HP. So we see these minion defenses. If you need to, this is definitely a budget character that I would highly recommend to limit break if you're having an issue with minions. Next up on the list is going to be Little John, a situation where it just deals damage to all enemies, and then the minus 64% mana generation for 3 turns is really awesome on the very fast wars. Next up is going to be Peters, one of my favorite characters in the 4 stars, dealing damage to the target, and then they also get silenced for 3 turns at fast speed, so it can definitely be really annoying. Jack O'Hare is definitely making a list here in the 4-star A's. Being able to just deal at fast speed 180% damage to all enemies. You get a little bit of a defense decrease for 3 turns, but definitely is worth the drawback that you have. So now we're through all the A's. We're going to get into 3-star A pluses. So first up on the list is going to be Barine, regular Barine. We see the situation could definitely be used on Titans if you need to, 14-star Titans even. Being able to get the attack increase, and then you just get a whole bunch of increase more, 20%. These definitely work out great in the wars. Next up on the list is going to be Barine costume. So the flip side, being able to have the defensive down, decrease. I love Barine costume. You get a whole bunch of defensive down in green. Next up on the list is going to be Dugan. This is the old version. He recently just got updated and he's even better now. But the biggest draw to be using this character is being able to have the receive damage and then also a ton of defensive down at minus 56% for 5 turns. So a character that could absolutely be used on Titans if you want to go ahead and do the second mana charge. And this character could be used on the events as well too. So I do like this character quite a bit. Next up in the A pluses, probably my favorite 3-star A plus is going to be the baby Albrecht Gramps, being able to do 33% chance to revive an HP at 23%, and then also regenerating the mana. Definitely an awesome character. We see this even in very fast wars. If people don't have a reviver, they throw Gramps in there, and if you got just as much of a chance to revive, it's definitely pretty annoying. So next up is going to be our A plus 4 stars. We have Ren running at fast speed, dealing 240% damage, and then also chaining through a situation to where you have a green Finley. This character is pretty insane. Next up, this is probably one of my very personal favorite characters in green for the 4 stars, Buddy. He just does everything that you want, dealing damage to target nearby enemies, summoning a minion for everybody around him, and then also doing the negative situations with the attack and also defense. I love Buddy. Next up is going to be Marcel. Another situation, just deals damage to target nearby enemies, and then also having the defensive down for 3 turns. Marcel is insane. I love him. Almer, definitely a great character, very close to it, like the Evelyn of the 4 stars, being able to deal damage to target nearby enemies. The biggest draw is going to be getting that minus 54% against nature for 4 turns. And then my absolute favorite character, this character is absolutely insane. This is Franz, the 4-star, runs it very slow. Oh, okay. You know, it doesn't matter. This character is insane, even on offense, and probably the most important character to bring against Titans. Being able to get the increased attack for 50% by 6 turns, and then also immunity to new buffs. Yeah, Franz is absolutely insane, and I highly recommend that you use him on all your Titans. So now that we're through that, let's get into all the A's and A pluses for the 5 stars. And I really want to hear in the comments, guys, which one is your favorite? Which one's your favorite character? Did I get them right? Which one? Let me definitely know in the comments which ones you limit broke or which ones you're considering. So starting us off is going to be Albrecht. Obviously, the chance to revive is going to be very sweet, and gaining the modern around mana, we're seeing how relevant these revive heroes are. Next up on the list is going to be Albrecht costume, very similar situation, and then you get the increase over time. I really like Albrecht costume for sure. Next up on the list is going to be Francine, the fast damage dealing and then also cleansing for all allies, and then extra against ice if you need her to. Next up in our A's is going to be Heimdall. Obviously, the boosted health is really awesome. Really great in a lot of different situations. You got the revive and then also the attack increase for anybody that's messing with your attack power. Next up in our A's is going to be Kingston, a character that just deals a ton of damage to the target, and then I love that he gives the decrease on the attack by a bunch for 4 turns. I love Kingston. And then we've got Phileas Fong, also at fast speed, dispelling buffs from the target, and then just deals a ton of damage as well too. And then also the nature effect that we have, amazing on offense. The target gets a minus 58% in defense against nature for 4 turns. Next up on the list is going to be Cristobal, a character that again just got buffed. I have the old card here. He just deals an insane amount of damage. I don't know how or why they came to it. Again, I have the old card. The new card is just absolutely insane. Just deals a ton of damage to everybody, and it's just gross. Could potentially be getting into the A pluses. We'll see how everything balances out when he is actually out. Next up on the list for the A's is going to be Mother North. Obviously, we see this a ton right now. I love that she's being able to shine on defense, being able to revive a whole bunch, and then also setting herself up to where you get the little minions as well. Next up on the list is going to be Mother North costume. I love that she's at 55% chance to revive. Obviously a little bit less of the situation of the healing, so yeah, you got to battle that out between the regular version versus the costume version. Next up on the list is going to be Peridot. This character is absolutely insane. I was so excited when they released this character like this, being able to deal damage with the poison damage and then the accuracy decrease. This character is insane. I really look forward to seeing more of the ninjas on defense, and this character is going to fit right in. So now we're through all the A's. Now we're into the A plus characters. First up on the list is going to be Toxicandra, potentially one of the best healers in all of the game, being able to run at fast speed, recovering health for all allies, and then also getting the regenerate of the moderate amount of mana for 3 turns, and then also cleansing for, status ailments from all allies. So gaining mana as well as cleansing and also healing. Yeah, Toxicandra is insane. And then we are very, very familiar with this character. This is Caitlyn costume, running at fast speed, dealing damage to anybody, and then having potentially the most annoying factor to her to where she's dodging. This is so annoying to deal with. You can't even dispel it properly because it could still dodge, and I just feel like she always dodges. So next up, this was a very big debate. I want you guys to think mentally what's going to come next. You probably, if you're paying attention, you probably know. So let's go to the next one. It's Quennell. I battled it out with Frigg back and forth. I wasn't sure which one was going to be the top A plus, but with Quennell, dealing damage to the target nearby enemies, and then you have the situation. I don't know if you've been murdered by Quennell, but I have, and it is not good. So being able to get the increase by 40%, it just feels like it just goes up and up and up, and you're just always taking a ton of damage at fast speed. This character is absolutely bonkers. However, with Frigg, the biggest thing of what I really love about Frigg is she's just always really, really great. Being able to deal damage to all enemies, and then you also have the additional damage, and then also the additional decrease on defense at fast speed. And she's also a rogue, very annoying on defense. She isn't really changing too much. She's still queen of the house, still absolutely amazing. Definitely a battle between Quennell and Frigg, I would say right now, for the top spot in green, but she's still very, very going strong. So guys, thank you so much for the support, and again, go to supportanchor.com. If you made it all the way through this video, go ahead and subscribe because clearly you like Empires and Puzzles content. I'll see you on the next video.